Electric vehicles are quiet, and that's a problem. Hi there, everyone. It's Jeff once again for your semi-weekly dose of English, and you are listening to lesson number 498 of Plain English. This is the best way to upgrade your English with current events and trending topics. If you only listen on an app, then you're just getting half the value. The rest of the lesson is at plainenglish.com/498. Coming up on today's lesson, what should an electric car sound like? Because right now, it doesn't sound like anything, at least not at slow speeds. And for anyone who walks on a street, that can be a problem. On today's lesson, you'll learn what car makers are doing to add noise to their electric vehicles. In the second half of the lesson, I'll explain what it means to walk by something, and we have a quote of the week. Now, JR and I are making the very final, last preparations for the big 500th lesson celebration coming up this Saturday. This is going to be a worldwide party on Facebook and Instagram to celebrate 500 plain English lessons, going all the way back to the fall of 2017. Now, at the very, very beginning, just for the first couple of months, we did one lesson a week on Thursdays. But for most of our history, we've made 2 plain English lessons every week without exception. And here we are, almost at 500, and that is an accomplishment, not just for us, not just for me and JR and for our whole team, but for all of you, because all of you have done so much great work. You've made so much progress, and I just can't wait to celebrate all the great work you've done. So we are going to live stream the 500th lesson this Saturday, September 3rd, at 9 o'clock in the morning, New York time. And when we are done with the lesson, we'll have a champagne toast to celebrate all the great work you've done over the years. You can get all the details at plainenglish.com/500, plainenglish.com/500. So with that out of the way, let's start today's lesson. You probably don't know the name Ed Peterson. He's not a famous musician, but the sound he created would be recognized on any city street in the world. That's because he invented the backup alarm that big trucks use when they go in reverse. In the 1960s, Ed sold automotive parts to operators of big trucks on construction sites. The story goes like this. On his frequent visits to dams, he noticed the trucks moving in reverse frequently hit and killed construction workers. So he invented an alarm that would sound automatically when the driver shifted into reverse. It wasn't long before that alarm became one of the most recognizable sounds in the world. Why am I telling you this now? Well, today, the world faces a similar problem. Electric vehicles promise to improve safety and reduce harmful carbon dioxide emissions. As you heard in lesson 435, they are also eerily quiet, and that's a problem for pedestrians and cyclists. When you walk on a city street, your eyes and ears protect you up to a point. The next time you're at a busy intersection, have a look at the people walking by. Count the number who are looking at a smartphone. See how many truly pay attention as they cross a busy street. Those of us, and yes, I include myself, those of us who look at our phones on the street, we're handicapping ourselves. When we do that, we rely even more on our ears to alert us to danger. Whether we're distracted or not, the sound of an oncoming car warns us of the danger. If you're walking on a street without a sidewalk, you can hear the car from behind. If you're approaching an alley, you can hear a car moving into the street. If you're about to cross, you can hear the cars on your left and right. You can also tell if a car is moving faster than normal, and you can get out of the way. This all protects us from dangers we cannot see. But that's not all. Even when we're looking directly at an oncoming car, our ears help us out. The sound a car makes helps us determine how close it really is, and, crucially, the sound also helps us calculate how fast the car is moving. Our brains process it subconsciously, but this information is all crucial to keeping us safe on busy streets. But if cars don't make any sound, then we're in trouble. Since the early days of the automobile age, governments have told car makers to configure their vehicles to make less noise. Now, they're telling them to make more noise. The US, EU, UK, Japan, and China all now have regulations mandating that electric vehicles make noise with external speakers. The regulations only require noise at low speeds. In the US, cars must actively produce noise when they run at 30 kilometers per hour or less. At higher speeds, tire noise and wind displacement combine with other sounds to make enough noise, regulators say. Interestingly, the rules don't specify what noise the cars must make. The rules typically specify an acceptable range of frequency and decibel levels, but they leave it up to the car makers to determine the exact sound. The only rule is that all cars of the same make and model must produce the same sound. An individual driver can't, for example, choose the sound that his or her car makes. So just as every car model has a distinct look, in the electric age, every model will have a distinct sound. This is leading to a whole new function in car making, the sound designer. At GM, for example, engineers are programming different sounds for different models. The Hummer, a big, muscular vehicle, will sound throaty. A Cadillac will sound more elegant. Audi, Ford, and Jaguar Land Rover are trying to make their electric cars sound like internal combustion cars. The electric Mustang, for example, will sound much like its gasoline-powered predecessor. Other car makers are doing it differently. Renault, the French car maker, worked with an Italian composer to create a set of sounds that would mimic nature but also be recognizable. The composer, Andrea Serra, said he wanted to create a sound that could be present without being loud. Hans Zimmer is a German composer for film. He worked on this summer's hit movie Top Gun: Maverick. He's also worked on the DC Comics superhero movies, artistic movies, and The Lion King. But now he'll have a new credit to his name as he's working with BMW on the sound for the i4 sedan. Is it really a good idea for every car maker to create its own noise for every model car? And will the noises be different in different countries? If that's true, then a city street might sound like the world's biggest orchestra with every instrument playing out of tune. Maybe it doesn't have to be that way. They can do a lot with speakers and sound design these days. I hope the car makers create sounds that can alert people nearby without being too distracting and noisy to people farther away. So what should an electric car sound like? One engineer said this was like making the movie Jurassic Park. They had to make sounds for dinosaurs, but nobody alive today knows what the dinosaurs really sounded like. Nobody knows what an electric car should sound like because they don't make any noise. We'll have to see what they come up with. Today's expression is walk by. This is an interesting one. So you know the word walk, right? Walk by means to pass something while walking. When we use walk by, we always need an object. Walk by something. There's always something that you pass. There's something you approach and you continue walking without stopping. The other day, I walked by the Damon Avenue Brown Line station here in Chicago, and I noticed that a long-time restaurant near the station is closing. What's going on here? I was walking. I didn't really stop. On my walk, I passed the Damon Avenue station, and when I passed the station, while I was walking, I noticed that a longtime restaurant near the station is going to close soon. So I walked by the station and I walked by the restaurant. I walked on the street, but I didn't stop for any length of time. The Art Institute of Chicago has two famous lion sculptures by the entrance. They've been there since 1894. But the pedestrians who walked by the Art Institute in July would have missed the lions. They had been removed for cleaning. The pedestrians who walked on South Michigan Avenue and who passed the Art Institute would have missed the lions. They were not there. I want you to notice the difference between walk by and walk to. If you walk to a museum, you start at your hotel, you walk, you get to the museum, and you stop. The museum is your destination. If you walk to a park, the park is your destination. But if you walk by a park, you're walking somewhere else, but there's a park on your way. You see it as you continue going. Earlier today, you heard that electric cars don't make as much noise as cars with internal combustion engines. That's a problem for all pedestrians. But it's a bigger problem for anyone whose sight is impaired. And it's a problem for anyone who is distracted by a smartphone screen on the street. And I challenged you to go to a city street corner the next time you're in a busy area. Go to a street corner and look at the people walking by. Look at the people who walk by that busy street corner, the people who are on their way from one place to another. And notice how many of the people walking by have their noses in a smartphone screen. Whether they know it or not, they're putting extra reliance on their ears to detect nearby traffic. You can say walk right by in two scenarios. First, if it's surprising that a person continued walking. Here's something that sometimes happens in the winter. The sidewalks are icy and someone falls down. And then other pedestrians walk right by. They don't stop to help the person up. They walk right by. So we say walk right by if it's surprising that a person doesn't stop. Second, you can say walk right by if you make a special effort not to stop. If you walk around a big city in the United States for long enough, especially on the weekends, you'll probably see canvassers. These are people who want you to sign a petition or join a mailing list. They often get paid by the number of signatures they collect, so they try to use every possible tactic to get you to stop and sign their clipboard. I always walk right by. I don't stop, not for any reason. Even if I might sympathize with their cause, I walk right by. These people have a right to be there, that's fine, but I think it's annoying and borderline harassment, so I walk right by. Last Thursday, I told you about the painting I liked at the art museum in Kansas City. So today, I picked a quote by the artist of that painting, Camille Pissarro. Here's the quote. "Blessed are they who see beautiful things in humble places where other people see nothing." That translation has a little bit of antiquated English, but here's what it means. You're lucky if you can see beautiful things in ordinary places. You're lucky if you see beauty in ordinary places because most people don't. I like that. So here's that quote again from the French Impressionist painter Camille Pissarro. "Blessed are they who see beautiful things in humble places where other people see nothing." Well, that's it for today. Lesson number 498. I can't believe it. We are getting so close to 500. So here's how this is going to work. Thursday's lesson, number 499, will be all about Chicago, the city JR and I live in. Many of you have clamored for a travel lesson about Chicago, and on Thursday, I will make your wish come true. And then, for lesson 500, JR and I will both tell you what we like best about Chicago, our favorite things, our favorite places. And we will stream that lesson from my home office on September 3rd. That's this Saturday, 5 days away. It will be at 9 o'clock a.m. New York time. And since we'll be doing it live on Instagram and Facebook, there will be pictures. So if you watch the live stream, you'll see some pictures about the things we're talking about. And yes, the audio will come out at the normal time, but to get the full experience, you'll want to join us live on Facebook and Instagram on September 3rd. So like I said, it's at 9 a.m. New York time, 10 a.m. in Brazil, 3 p.m. Central European time, 9 in the evening in Taiwan and Hong Kong, 10 p.m. in Tokyo. Got that? All the times are at plainenglish.com/500, so you don't forget. See you then.